welcome. My name is Allie Berry, and I'm product manager on the NuGet team. Today, I'm going to be walking you through the future of NuGet, and NuGet is the central package manager for .NET. NuGet defines how packages for .NET are created, hosted, consumed, and provides tools for each of these roles. So today I will be guiding you through the story of NuGet, starting with where we began about 13 years ago. Don't worry, the history lesson will be brief. Just want to set some context about how the package manager and open source landscape that we see today evolved. And then I'm going to dive into the future for four main areas of focus for NuGet. So first, I just want to thank you for listening to this talk, and I hope that you can learn something new about the future of our amazing tool that we have here. So to go over for our agenda for today, I will start with some history and context setting around NuGet and where we came from and where we are today with the ever-changing open source landscape. I then plan to dive into four major areas of focus for NuGet currently and over the foreseeable future. I will start with security and trust for using NuGet to interact with the open source world. The NuGet team is working hard to ensure that we offer a platform that is both highly secure for and trusted by our customers. And we are continuing to add features that will allow you, our customers, to better be able to understand the trustworthiness and the contents of a package that you are considering downloading, as well as assist our valued package creators in conveying the contents of their packages to potential downloaders and overall aid perceived trust in their packages. Next, I will discuss community. The NuGet team sees a huge opportunity for improvement of our tooling in terms of allowing customers to better leverage the .NET developer community directly within our tool to better understand the experiences provided by a package that they are considering downloading. We understand greatly the value that this adds and are excited to explore this aspect for the future of our product. Third, I will discuss the future of NuGet in terms of the tooling and features that allow our customers to search, filter, and browse packages in our ecosystem prior to committing to download them. And finally, I will end by discussing the category of best practices. This consists of both information regarding best practices when using NuGet as both a creator and consumer of packages, as well as what our team is doing to make information around best practices more accessible and tooling to make these best practices easier for our customers to follow. So without further ado, let's get into NuGet, starting with some history. So the history of NuGet. NuGet was founded back in 2010 as NuPack, so we've been around for about 13 years. Since its introduction back in 2010, NuGet has evolved into a larger ecosystem of tools and services, including a free and open source client application, hosted package servers, and software development tools. So NuGet is considered the .NET package manager for C#, F#, C++, and a variety of other languages. NuGet is a completely open source project, and it is part of the .NET Foundation as of 2016. And as a little fun fact, NuGet is generally inspired by Maven, the Java package manager. So to explain why NuGet and keeping your code secure is so important, you can think of it this way. We download code from the internet written by unknown individuals that we haven't read, that we execute with full permissions on our trusted devices where we keep our most important data. And it's a miracle that this all works. NuGet is evolving with the times of open source technology, and we are working to be at the forefront of this cutting edge and ever-changing era of technology. As we see a rise in usage of open source software and a parallel rise in demand for tooling to facilitate its expansion and protect those who are utilizing it, the NuGet team is working harder than ever to ensure that we can meet that demand and be a driving force behind the world of open source. With recent advancements in AI and open source tooling, the technology industry is seeing a new era emerge. As much as we say we came from the Wild West in terms of security with not knowing the future and where we're going, we are still in it, and with the ever-changing nature of tech, we likely always will be. We are working to make sure that we can meet these challenges, keep up with the changes, and provide a safe and easy tool to meet the needs of our users. There are a lot of things that can go wrong in this process, which is where NuGet comes in. NuGet serves as not only a way for developers like yourselves to browse and install open source packages to make your coding lives easier and introduce new ways of solving a problem, but also to regulate, protect, and safeguard the most important data of our customers. Balancing this with implementing the most simple and intuitive design possible to streamline package usage processes for our users is what NuGet strives to accomplish. For the rest of the presentation, I will discuss some of the ways that NuGet is working to find that balance and continue to provide the safest and most usable platform for open source packaging and distribution. And that leads me into our first section of today's talk, security and trust in NuGet. NuGet and other package managers, as well as the world of open source technology and tooling, have been in the news a lot recently. Seeing headlines like this can be jarring when working to understand trust and security in this space. NuGet is working hard to ensure that we can provide a safe and secure ecosystem to promote open source sharing. Today, I will walk you through just a few of the ways that NuGet is working to support open source developers, such as the categories of package source mapping, SBOMs, and OpenSSF initiatives. So to start, I will go through what is dependency confusion. Dependency confusion is one of the largest issues that NuGet developers face, and it is a type of software supply chain attack that exploits the trust that developers have in package repositories. In this attack, a malicious actor publishes a fake package to a public package repository with the same name as a legitimate package. When a developer's build system tries to download the legitimate package, it can unintentionally download the malicious package instead. This can happen if the developer's build system is configured to first check the private internal package repository, and if the package is not found there, it will check a public package repository. The malicious package can contain malicious code that can compromise the security of a developer's system or steal sensitive information. This attack can be particularly effective because the developer might not know or be aware that they are using the malicious package, as it is a package name and version number that match the legitimate package. So as you can see on the bottom of this slide, we have an example of what dependency confusion can look like. So the top package is something that you would find on NuGet.org. It has the same name as the contoso.input package that can be found in a private registry. So without the user knowing, they may accidentally download the public package contoso.input found on NuGet.org, which may potentially include malicious code. Thankfully, the NuGet team has already developed a solution to prevent this from happening, and that is package source mapping. Package source mapping gives you fine-grained control of where your packages come from by mapping every package in your solution to a target package source. NuGet's solution for safeguarding your software supply chain and protecting against dependency confusion so that you always know where your packages are coming from. The example provided here shows how package source mapping works in the NuGet.config file in the root of your repository. As you can see, it details a package and maps it to an exact source, so that you have confidence that you are getting the exact package that you're looking for every time and not installing some malware that can compromise your security. Going more into these malicious scripts that might be found in malicious packages on NuGet, there was recently a blog post on JFrog, as many of you may have seen. This blog details ways that malicious actors are utilizing NuGet to reach targets of their software attacks. Malicious packages that are meant to be downloaded on accident by users without knowing that they are malicious contain scripts that are executable upon installation. Prior to this blog release, we had already been aware of this issue and had been actively working on remediation, as I will explain in the following slide. Here's what we're doing to fix it. The NuGet team has active remediation strategies to help to ensure that this doesn't happen. First, we are moderating malicious packages and scripts to ensure that none of these malicious actors can be found on NuGet, and if they are, then they will be removed promptly. We also have ongoing detection of known malicious attack vectors and scripts. And finally, we are bringing awareness of auto-executable scripts on package download to all of our customers to ensure that everyone has full knowledge that you will not be the target of an attack like this. Next, I will dive into OpenSSF and NuGet. OpenSSF brings together work from the Linux Foundation-initiated Core Infrastructure Initiative and the GitHub-initiated Open Source Security Coalition and other open source security efforts to improve the security of open source software by building a broader community, targeted initiatives, and best practices. OpenSSF has working groups for a variety of these different open source tooling initiatives, and I wanted to bring awareness of this so that you can check these out if you're interested in getting more involved with security and trust in the open source world. Here I will dive into exactly what NuGet is doing to incorporate these OpenSSF initiatives into our tooling to ensure that we are following best practices and ensure that we have the most secure ecosystem for our customers. First, I will talk about OpenSSF scorecards. A scorecard is an automated tool that assesses several important heuristics or checks associated with software security and assigns each check a score of 1 to 10. These scores help understand specific areas to improve and strengthen the security posture of a dependency. So here, over to the right-hand side of the slide, we have an example of what an OpenSSF security scorecard looks like. And as you can see, it goes through several of these heuristics, including how well it's maintained, how well it follows best practices, licensing, and vulnerabilities, and many other checks. We are bringing NuGet in the future to be scorecard aware so that you can easily access this information about a package that you are looking to download. Next, I will talk about the best practices working group that is within OpenSSF. This group works to provide open source developers with best practices recommendations and easy ways to learn and apply them. This is something that the NuGet team values highly, and we are working to ensure that our best practices documentation is aligned with the OpenSSF best practices documentation. Next, I will talk about the Securing Critical Projects Working Group. This working group is working specifically to ensure that the most influential, most downloaded, and most critical packages in the open source ecosystem are 100% secure and free from attacks. A large percent of developers are mostly, if not only, using these most critical projects. Working to ensure that this small number of projects are completely safe can and will have a huge impact on the safety of the largest number of developers. In conjunction with this working group, the NuGet team is also working to ensure that our packages that affect the highest number of users are the most secure. Finally, I will talk about SBOMs and NuGet, which I will go into more detail on the following slide. An SBOM, or a software bill of materials, is a list of all of the components, libraries, and dependencies that make up a piece of software. An SBOM provides a comprehensive inventory of the software's building blocks, including information on version numbers, license information, and any known vulnerabilities or security issues. SBOMs are increasingly important in software development and security, as they allow developers and security professionals to track and manage software supply chain. By understanding what components are used in a piece of software, developers can better manage dependencies and vulnerabilities, and security professionals can more easily identify and patch security issues. The inclusion of SBOMs in NuGet packages can be a simple way to provide transparency and security to package consumers, and we plan to deliver a simple and reliable solution to make it as easy as possible for our users to include SBOMs in their packages. This will allow NuGet package consumers to reap all of the security benefits that SBOMs provide, and have a more simple and on-demand access to extensive information about a package that will aid in installation decision-making. Additionally, this tooling that we plan to provide will make it very easy for our package creators to include this useful information in their package, which will then drive up downloads for them. Both the OpenSSF initiative around SBOMs and NuGet team's work to make SBOMs more accessible in NuGet packages will make great strides towards securing the .NET ecosystem. Finally, I will wrap up this section with just looking towards a more secure NuGet. NuGet packages can include a digital signature that provides protection against tampered content, which we refer to as package signing. This signature is produced from an X.509 certificate that also adds authenticity proofs to the actual origin of a package. NuGet is one of the only package managers that supports code signing today. Signed packages provide the strongest end-to-end validation and provides peace of mind that you know exactly where your packages are coming from. Next, NuGet also provides capabilities for common vulnerabilities and exposures, as well as GitHub security advisory alerts that you can see directly in a code editor. Next, two other things that NuGet is doing to ensure that we have top security on our ecosystem is including mandatory two-factor authentication on NuGet.org, as well as prefix reservations. Prefix reservations are like getting your own land on NuGet. So reserving your prefix can help to avoid typo squatting, dependency confusion, and other ways that your package can be exploited for security vulnerabilities. So the NuGet team is working hard to ensure that we have all of these checks in place to make sure that we have a very secure ecosystem. And we plan to incorporate many more new features in the future to ensure that we are always at the cutting edge of security. Next, I will dive into the topic of community within NuGet. So I wanted to start this section by talking a little bit about a series of interviews that our team conducted in February of 2023. The NuGet team interviewed a sample of 9 customers about what quality in terms of a package means to them. We asked questions such as, what does the word quality mean to you regarding a NuGet package? And what are your most consistent and present problems with determining the quality of a NuGet package? We then dove into how do you go about solving your problem and how do you choose a high quality NuGet package? Our team wanted to understand how we can step in and provide the best experience possible for our customers when they are using our ecosystem to browse potential packages and make the most informed decision regarding what they choose to install. So here's what we learned. One major theme that we saw, among many others, was around community. Our customers tend to heavily leverage the wider developer community in several ways. First, including resources such as GitHub, Stack Overflow, and other resources for collaboration, as well as just general word of mouth and trusted package creators. This relates back to the idea of trust and security in NuGet. We are more likely to use a package if it is vetted in some way by a trusted source. So the NuGet team is currently investigating and prototyping solutions for increasing collaboration on our platform. Additionally, I wanted to dive into the topic of OSS sustainability. Sustainability in the open source world is a problem for a few reasons. One, most importantly, being a lack of funding. Open source projects are often created and maintained by volunteers who contribute their time and expertise without compensation. However, as these projects grow in size and complexity, they require more resources to maintain and improve, such as funding for hosting, marketing, and development. Without a sustainable source of funding, many open source projects struggle to survive. Although this is an issue pertaining to the entire open source community and is bigger than NuGet itself, the NuGet team is passionate about doing what we can to empower the community and recognize our valued package creators in any way that we can. So, we have a plan to provide a capability to mark a package as needs funding or include sponsor URL to make the request for funding so much easier and more accessible for our package creators and for consumers of packages to recognize the hard work that these package creators are doing. Next, I will dive into the topic of tooling that is available on the NuGet platform. So first, I wanted to start by diving into some recent improvements that the NuGet team has made already on the NuGet platform. We've already been working to make improvements to our tooling and usability over previous years, as seen here. The refreshed package detail page, highlighting the most pertinent and useful information to our customers, which provides a more visually appealing look and feel to our products. We want our tooling to be as accessible and easy to use as possible, and we are striving to make the most important information about security and trustworthiness, as well as the usability of a package to be at the forefront and the most easily understandable information when you are looking at a package at a glance. So first, you can easily see information such as readmes, dependencies, and versions at the top of the screen here. As we have heard from our customers, these are some of the most important pieces of information when evaluating a package for install. Additionally, we have some future tooling improvements that you should look out for. First, we have vulnerability scanning tools. This is a highly requested feature that our customers have been asking for, and we want to make vulnerability information about a package to be as easily to find as possible. So we plan to provide a way to show notifications for dependencies of a package that are vulnerable, so that you know even when you are installing a package. So if a dependency of a package has a vulnerability, then you will be easily able to see that information at the forefront of the UI. Next, we have Central Package Management tooling. Central Package Management is a tool that the NuGet team has been developing to make sure that you can easily manage a high number of dependencies of a project. We are working to make this tooling more accessible and more easily available across NuGet.org, as well as NuGet in Visual Studio. Next, we plan to provide Package Manager UI support for our package source mapping tool, which I previously detailed. We want to make this package source mapping tool more easily accessible and usable within the Package Manager UI in Visual Studio. Finally, next, we have been hearing your requests, and we are working hard to get search by target framework capabilities available in NuGet. Finally, we want to make information about vulnerabilities in Restore more easily accessible for our customers as well. These are all things that are on our backlog and you should look out for in the future of NuGet. For our final section, I will go through best practices to use when using NuGet. For best practices, the NuGet team is working hard to spread awareness of the NuGet best practices and to make following them by default as easy as possible through tooling and documentation. We want to make sure that best practices information is easily accessible and followable for our customers. So, we have created new documentation as linked here, which you can easily find through our Microsoft Learn website. These 3 links here show best practices for both package consumers and package creators when using NuGet. As you can see in recent survey findings here, that a large number or % of respondents to our survey didn't know best practices when using NuGet, and we want to make that information more easily discoverable. So, we have been working hard to produce new best practices documentation and to put it at the forefront of our tooling. For the future of following best practices, we want to utilize tooling for package validation to run checks and show alerts regarding best practices to make this information more easily discoverable and followable for our customers. Package validation tooling will allow library developers to validate that their packages are consistent and well-formed. It involves validating that there are no breaking changes across versions. It will validate that the package has the same set of public APIs for all different runtime-specific implementations. Finally, I wanted to dive into the topic of readmes. Our team is currently undergoing work to increase README usage and inclusion across NuGet packages to benefit both consumers and authors of packages. Increasing outreach for README adoption, as well as providing tools and documentation to make it easier than ever to include READMEs in packages, is something that the NuGet team is focusing heavily on currently. According to our customer research, one of the top problems that NuGet package consumers report is lack of package documentation regarding READMEs. So we are working to make this documentation more available. We are providing a call to action to add missing READMEs to packages. The inclusion of a high-quality README benefits both the package creator and package consumer. The presence of a README in a package can impact users' perceptions of the quality and reliability of a package. I will now dive into some of the best practices when writing an excellent README. First, you want to start with a clear and concise description of what your package does and what it is and what problem it solves. Next, you want to explain how to use it. Provide clear and concise getting started instructions for your package, including any necessary steps that the user might take to easily use it. Next, you want to give examples of how your package can be used to help users quickly understand its capabilities. Providing links to more resources, such as documentation, tutorial videos, blog posts, or any other relevant documentation to help users get the most out of your package is another way that you can write an excellent README. Including screenshots or visuals can help a user to easily understand what your package is and does and help them to understand how they can easily use it and get the most out of your package. You also want to describe any limitations or any known issues with your package and provide workarounds if possible. Finally, some last examples of how you can write an excellent README include providing sample code, so providing code snippets to help users understand how to implement your package in their projects, as well as making your README visually appealing, using clear headings, code blocks, and other resources to make your README look and feel appealing and to make it easy to navigate. Thank you for listening to this talk about the future of NuGet. Today, starting from the open source ecosystem and the history of NuGet, I shared the largest problems and areas for improvement of NuGet today and the direction of where we plan to go in the future. Some of these largest areas of focus for us, including tooling, best practices, community, and security and trust, are at the forefront of our thinking on the NuGet team, and we plan to implement more and more features that will help you to have a better experience when browsing, creating, and downloading packages to use in your code.